Welcome to Extraordinary Women TV with Shannon Skinner. I have two fantastic guests lined up for you today. My first guest is Ronnie Hannesen, who is the founder of the Canadian Networker. Later in the segment, before we take a break, I'll have my regular Good to Know Minute when I ask my guests for their top tip on living a successful life. You'll hear Ronnie's. In the second half of the show, we'll be talking about raising toys for orphans in Haiti, so stay tuned for that. Ronnie Hannesen, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Now, the Canadian Network is an online resource where entrepreneurs can connect, share experiences, and learn from each other. It sounds like a fantastic resource to me.
It's been absolutely amazing, and the information that we have takes us beyond Marketing 101. So we're getting life skills, we're getting what to do in the case of a divorce and your business, what to do with life changes. So it's been very exciting, the knowledge that's come together and the sharing that the people are willing to do and give of themselves.
Now, why is it so important for you to bring people together? I mean, this really is something, and even beyond the Canadian Networker, bringing people together has been something important to you for a long time.
Bringing people together opens opportunity. And that's what's really exciting, because when you bring people together, there's opportunity for business, there's opportunity for love, there's opportunity for romance, adventure.
Ooh,
so once you have that, once you can create
all at once?
that would be the best, right? But once you can create that, you've created something really exciting.
Now, you started your career doing something very different. This is one of the things I think is most fascinating about you. Your first business was helping brides on their very special day.
Yes, it was a lot of fun. At that time, it was one of the few avenues that wasn't tapped into, which sounds so weird now because there's so many different businesses, so many different styles of business. But at that time, myself and another woman from Woodbridge, we were the only ones going out to the houses at a reasonable cost. And we were booked solid. We were booked from April until December.
Doing their hair and makeup.
Doing just hair and makeup. We did demos during the week.
Right.
To, pre-styling and to see what they want to do. But then the weekends were just booked with weddings. And we were booked solid, like absolutely solid. Now it's slightly different. And now you're having more businesses out there doing the home service. But at that time, we were the only ones. And we'd sort of run into each other every once in a while throughout the GTA, going from Oshawa to Woodbridge. We were up in Barrie. We were everywhere. And it was absolutely fabulous business to have.
Of course, this was in the 80s.
Yeah.
Era of the big hair.
Yeah, so with big hair, I still like the big hair. It's still my style. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. The dresses were really different. I watch a lot of the bridal shows now. Mind you, the brides are still a lot alike, right?
Right,
Like they were then. A lot of the bridezillas and such. But it was the styles were really different. They were a lot bigger, a lot even poofier, lots of makeup, of course, lots of makeup, and a lot of the freeze hairspray, because the styles were a lot bigger. But it was an incredible experience, and it taught me so much about human relations and how people interact and what happens to people under stress, right? All of that, those areas. So it really was a learning experience for me too.
Now, you also went on to launch a beauty magazine as well.
Yep. Well, I first wrote my very first book, which was an industry-based book training women to do bridal business.
What's the name of it?
It was called A Bridal and Studio Makeup Artistry, a Practical Guide. So it would have all the elements of how to do the makeup, how to sort of learn how to do it, and then it would have how to sell it. So how would you market yourself, what shows would you do, how would you plan out your day, how would you be able to do more than one person in that day, how would you price for it. And it did extremely well, and I ended up doing workshops around it. So we were very busy with that, and from there I wrote my second book, which was directed to teens, and it was called 50 Ways to Make Up Your Eyes, which I'm relaunching with my teen daughter now, revamping it and relaunching it. And it was every idea under the sun, and we would combine it with a name to fit your personality, so it would be Green Day or Marry Me or different looks, and it was just a really cool book, and it did extremely well. So from there, I then sold my business, my salon that I had. At that time, I had opened a salon and spa in Markham and was doing Beyond Bridal, and we sold that, and I launched my first beauty-based magazine within Markham. And that's how I got into the whole advertising promotion side.
Fantastic. And then, of course, from there you started the Canadian Networker.
Well, I started first with a small networking group called the AFV Network, which spin off of my business name, which was At Face Value. And I did that because once I started going into the networking that was available at the time, they were the chambers and the boards of trade, and they were very heavily male-based, and they were very heavily what I call academic businesses. So there were a lot of financial people, real estate people. They weren't at all my target market and where I could go with the magazine. So I launched my own networking group that catered to the retail sector. And because, coming from the retail sector, I really understood the cost of advertising, cost of promotion. So it was a way to allow them, in a very cost-effective way, to get their message out. And we ended up doing events. We did consumer-based events. We did business-to-business events, but they constantly had a presence through the magazine. They were able to write articles. They became my information base, which led to the whole idea of the sharing of knowledge. From that entity, I saw that even though I was out there and really pushing and working to build my group, all groups collapse in on themselves eventually. You run out of places to sell. So I wanted to create a larger forum that could reach more people, and that's how the Canadian Networker came about.
So all groups collapse in on themselves. So there's a lot of women's networking organizations out there.
Yes.
Let's talk about that for a second. I mean, what does it take for them to be successful, or one day will they all kind of implode?
I think all networking groups have the potential of imploding. They all do. And the biggest problem being that they run out of members to sell to. So depending on what, and we had talked about this the other day regarding, okay, what is the success of a women's networking group? If the success is based on a sisterhood and it's based on the caring and support that you get and the nurturing that you get that women naturally have, then you can term a women's networking group that way as successful. But if you're looking in terms of money, amount of money and revenue generated, then when you don't have enough new people coming into the circle, coming out to the meetings, you eventually tap out of who you can sell to. So if you've already promoted your product to the core 20 that comes, they've either bought from you or are not interested in what you have. If new people aren't coming into that group, there's no one to sell to, and you run out of people, and that's when it starts to collapse in for a business standpoint. If you've built this sisterhood and the relationship side, and you like getting together once a month, and you have your lunches, and you have a speaker, then it can be successful for what it is.
And so, of course, this launch, got you to look at a different model for the Canadian Networker. You do things a little differently. We
are different. We're not a traditional networking group. We are very, very focused on our members, advertisers, sponsors, booth renters, sales. We are about their sales. Right. We're about getting them exposure through web, print, and events. We encourage them to write articles so people can get to know who they are and what they're about and what their philosophies are. We hand out their information. We have exec leaders. We hand out their information so that their actual print entities are out into the hands of people who can see them. We do events monthly. We do larger conferences. We constantly push them outwards so that they get more than just a linear exposure. Because anything linear, you're going to, again, run out of ways to build your business, and you're too closed in, you're too tapped into one area. So you always want to broaden it, and that's why we do everything based on web, print, and events. So then a really big focus for you then, to sort of recap, is really to bring in new people as well. Is huge for you, because so you don't implode. Yes, and I use the term, and I've really gotten it for it, but I use the term fresh blood. And the people, well, you sound like a vampire, right? And I'm not trying to do that. But what I mean by that term is that you always want to bring in new people into the fold, because once you bring in new people, there's a chance for a sale, purchase, or alliance with that person. So we're very, very focused, and my online resource center leaders are very focused on being the sort of the hunter-gatherers of entrepreneurs, to bring as many people either as visitors to the site, because we get just under 5,000 visitors a day visiting our sites and bouncing around once they're on there and checking out the different articles, to the amount of people coming out to our events. We want to have new people. We move our events around. We're not in the same spot every single month. Right. So we can be in Toronto, we can be up in Newmarket, we've got Ottawa this week. We got events running in Ottawa. We've got them running in Oshawa. We've got them everywhere so that we can draw new people to come out. So the potential and the chance for everyone that's there, whether they're members of ours or guests coming out, there's the chance for somebody that's new to them, and that can be a new connector out for them, and it can be a sale, purchase, and alliance. I really,
really sort of really like your model. I've been to, I've been to a number of networking events, either by networking organizations or organizations putting on a networking event. And some of them have been, really beneficial from the standpoint of developing a social network. Very few of them have been beneficial in actually creating really strong sales, business sales. And this is what I really like about your organization.
I think that if you have a leader that is really strong on sales, then you're going to have the mentality sort of trickle down to everyone who comes on board with it. I have gotten a lot of flack in the past about my attitudes with networking, okay? Because I've gotten a lot of people saying to me that, it's about building a relationship and you have to take your time, they got to get to know you. But what the caveat's missing is that it's a business relationship. It's not a social relationship. And you said it. It's great for the social. You get together, you have that bonding, or you're listening to a speaker and you get some inspiration. But at the end of the month, you've got to pay your bills. And at the end of the month, your business has to go. And our economy depends on sales happening. So everything depends on this machine to happen. But there's a lot of mixed message being given to networkers that they shouldn't go out there with the mentality that I'm going to go in and I'm going to sell in this room. But then my question is, then why are you going? Like, if you're going to go and just do it for a social thing, well, you're coming into a room, if it's all strangers, and your social gets a little bit wacky because you've got to meet everybody and you've got to go into sort of that realm. But if you're going to go to a meeting and you're going to pay the entrance fee or you're going to take the time to go out, then go out with the mentality that I'm building my business and I'm working towards that. And you don't have to be pushy and you don't have to be aggressive. And that's the thing that I always get. Well, people come in there and they're handing out cards and this. Well, that aggressive, obnoxious person is going to be aggressive, obnoxious, whether they're in a business thing or whether they're your next door neighbor. So that's going to happen no matter where you go. So you've got to go in thinking that I'm not obnoxious, I'm not pushy, I just want to get to know this person. I want to ask what they do, I want to tell them what I do. And is there a chance for a sale, purchase, and alliance? Because any one of those three is going to get you to where you need to be in the end, and that is money in your pocket to be able to build your business, to be able to hire people, to be able to pay your mortgage, to whatever it is to build your life. And once your mind sort of wraps around that, you lose the guilt of I shouldn't come into this room handing out my card. Yes, you should. You absolutely should. And when you come to one of our events, the first things we say is, okay, everybody, switch cards. And then tomorrow, you're going to follow up with everybody in the room and say, this is what I do, this is what you do. Is there a chance for one of these three things?
Well, Ronnie, we're going to take a quick break. This means it's my Good to Know Minute, and I know that you've got a great tip for the viewers.
My best tip that I can get is to believe in yourself. Deep, deep, deep down, believe in yourself. And it sounds cliche and it sounds really easy, but it's one of the hardest things to do because you have a lot of negative influences coming at you. You have naysayers with your ideas. You have people telling you you're too this, you're too that. You've got to get rid of all of that. Focus on what your goals are, what you want, and then believe that you can achieve them.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, more with Ronnie Hannesen, founder of the Canadian Networker. So stay tuned. Welcome back to the show. I'm Shannon Skinner, and I'm joined by Ronnie Hannesen, who's a founder of the Canadian Networker, a fantastic online resource for entrepreneurs out there. We were talking a little bit about networking organizations. Why is it important, particularly for women, to network in business? And do they network differently than men, female entrepreneurs?
It's important to network because networking is one of the tools that should be in your toolbox. Okay, so when you go out there, you should have your print entities, flyers, what have you. You should have your strong web presence, but you should also have the live presence, which is what networking is. It's your live entity. It's being able to actually go out behind Facebook, behind all of that, and meet somebody and connect with them. And it is the fastest way to get a sale. It is absolute bar none the fastest way to get a sale if you actually go for selling. If you're going for that purpose, you can't get any faster than when you network.
Right. And do women network differently than men? Do they look for a different way of networking than men do in business?
Yes. I think that women are the most, how do I say this? Guilty is not the right word, but they're the ones who most go into the relationship side. where the men tend to try to keep it more business related and it's about business. Women tend to go more onto the relationship side. Let's go for coffee, let's meet, let's talk, let's get together, which is why they tend to gravitate towards a lot of the women's only groups as opposed to the mixed groups, the men-women groups or the chambers.
Does that speaks to our values and perhaps as you know, gender values? Does it? I mean, is it saying
a lot
that
of
women
it's
are more
inbred.
social
Exactly.
anyway?
We're also more nurturing.
Right.
So we tend to really care, and we tend to want to. We go into the I want to know what you're about, but then it very quickly goes to I want to know what you're about. This is my business. To I want to know what you're about, and you know my husband does this, and my children do that, and you start to get again. You're going leaning towards the social, but I think as women we naturally do that. We naturally want to create those kind of bonds, and we become more nurturing.
Right. What has been, do you think, the greatest challenge that you have seen? I mean, you've run across a number of female entrepreneurs out there. What has been the greatest challenge that you see women in business facing today?
I see two. One, the one that always has plagued women is the work-life balance. Obviously, we have our children, and a lot of us now have elderly parents, so we're really squished in there. On the social side, you're married, you have your husband, you have your families.
Some of us have dogs.
You have dogs, cats.
Yeah.
You have that, and that takes a lot of your energy, mental energy, a lot of your emotional energy.
Sure.
And then if you obviously have your business side where you have to commit so many hours, and especially if you're building a business, everyone knows who's out there doing a business. The hours are astronomical. And if you have a retail business, which I also know, now you're in 7 days a week, and so you're constantly on the go. So if you're trying to do that and have your small children, and you have your husband and your family, and you have all these commitments, it becomes really challenging of where to go. And because we have that inbred, of course, that nurturing side, we tend to be pulled back and forth, and we really have a challenge with that.
Yeah, I've heard a number of women talk about the challenges they have with loving their career, loving their business, wanting to dedicate as much time as they can, but of course they have children, and they want to be there for their kids. They maybe have to pull back on travel or less time with friends so they can balance that. It seems to be an ongoing challenge for so many women out there.
And it's really funny too, because it is a challenge that the middle class have, as opposed to the very wealthy, which have no problem getting nannies, which have no problem, and there's no stigma to them having nannies, and there's no stigma to that. If you were to look at the mother, they constantly talk about Princess Diana. I mean, she always had nannies, and it was completely acceptable for her to do that. If you were to go into mothers that say unfortunately are on welfare, and that they have childcare set up for them, and it's perfectly normal. When you come to sort of the middle, we're sort of like, oh my God, should you put your kids into daycare? Are you a good mom if you do that? And you have all those feelings about it. And if you're working a lot of hours and your kids happen to be in daycare during the day, and then they have to be with a babysitter in the evening, the guilt becomes astronomical, and you really start to wonder, like, oh, am I doing the right thing? And you become overloaded, and you're really trying to balance that, and it can take away a lot from a woman emotionally, which then, of course, impacts her business.
Do you think it's easier for men to get out there and promote themselves than it is for women? It seems to me that
There's a fly, right?
a fly on the set.
They're bothering me.
It seems to me that maybe this is quite a broad statement, but a lot of men seem to have it are much more comfortable with promoting themselves, with getting themselves out there, than women. That seems to also be one of the challenges that women face.
That's a two-part answer. Men can really separate business and personal. They can separate really easily. And when it's about business, it's business. And if they have to go out and work and do business, then they're going to go out and work and do business. And it's also socially acceptable for them to be working all these hours, to do all that, taking care of their families. Women, they have a hard time separating social and business, and feel guilty if it all becomes all about business. And so again, our nurturing side comes in, which makes it harder for us to sort of focus and zero in, which makes it seem as if men have an easier time at it. We just have that challenge, and that's what I was mentioning before, as one of the challenges for women is separating business and personal, and being able to keep them separate, and being able to compartmentalize them so that you don't have the guilt. But I think, it's the young younger generations have it a bit easier, the women, because it's more socially acceptable, women working, being out there, so there's not as much stigma on them as, say, maybe our generation or older, where there was a lot of pressure on them to be the perfect mom and be the perfect business person and be, you know, this you know, gorgeous thing that gets out there every day, and you look perfect when you get up in the morning, which of course we do, right?
Of course we do. That's right.
So we have that.
24/7.
Yeah, we have that, and that becomes a lot of pressure on a woman. And men tend to not focus on all of that. They tend to be able to zero in on, this is my job today, and this is the business, and I've got to focus on the business.
Now, networking. I know that you've got some tips. A few great tips.
I do. When you go out and network, keep it professional.
Okay.
Stay professional. I've been to networking events where I've seen people drinking way too much. You don't want to be the lampshade on the head guy, where people remember, because they remember. And if you've been networking, especially around the GTA, you've hit the same people quite a few times, and you don't think it gets around, it gets around. Don't be lewd, don't make off-color jokes, really keep it professional and focus on it being a business event. And once you are in that realm, you don't go to personal and you don't do anything where it's going to impact your business, and it's going to come back and bite you in the butt later on.
Keep it professional, lay
Keep it
off
professional.
lay off the booze.
You know, the booze is the funniest part. I went to one where this guy actually fell into me at an event. He was really, he was drinking a lot, and he was across the room. He kept staring at me, and I was thinking, okay, who are you, and why do you keep staring at me? And he sauntered over to me, and he was like, and honestly, he fell right into my chest. And I just sat there for a minute looking down at him thinking, we're at a business meeting, like, what do I do now? And of course, everyone around me is like horrified, and you know, I'm just kind of moving him off. And believe me, I'll never forget this guy as long as I live, because it was comical, but horrifyingly embarrassing on his part. And it didn't help that I was the recipient of it. Then I was the one who had to endure, you know, this face plant, right, happening to me. So it was just a bad way to go. You don't drink. Just don't. It's a business scenario. But that leads me into the next one, which is you're not there for the food. That is the biggest one. I can't understand the mentality when you go out to these events and it becomes about the food. I don't like the food. You're not giving me the right food. There's not enough food? Where is the food? Can't I have food? You're there to do business. Who cares what the food is? Who cares if there's any food? There's a glass of water, you're doing great. Get around, meet people, get their cards, and connect with them. It's about business. And one of the other sides of that is that we had as an event I had gone to report on it for the Canadian Networker, and I had gone in, they had this big buffet, and this lady who was wearing this huge red dress and had all these ruffles going down the front of the dress. The buffet had fruit and it had chocolate brownies. And she chose that day to eat the brownies. And as she sat at the front of, and she was on the head table, and as she sat there, all the brownies were crumbling into her ruffles, right? So I'm looking at it, I just want to go over and dig up. But what was worse was the brownies were sticking in her teeth. So when she talked afterwards, there was brownie in her teeth. And my first thought was, okay, business-wise, that's all I remember about you. What was your business? What do you do? You're the lady with the brownies in her teeth that I'm talking about years later to never ever do. It's not about the food. Forget about the food. Eat as little there. Go home, eat 10 trays of brownies. I'm not talking about whether you should or shouldn't indulge. Find the time.
I was just at a big networking event not that long ago, and part of their advertisement was food. Come for the food. And actually, it was interesting because they didn't really have, you know, buffet. You sort of think that, okay, well, they're going to really have food. And there was cheese and crackers spread out here and there. And I thought to myself, I don't know that that was really the right thing to do, is to advertise food, because obviously they thought it was a draw. And that they didn't really, you know, come to the plate with anything really substantial. So I had a different idea of what this event was going to be like.
I think that is the problem. And when you do talk about the food side, they're trying to do the draw. But here's what I say. The draw should be that you're coming to do business. That's what the draw should be. Sure. And if you're going to walk into a room and there are 300 people, then your excitement is that, look at all these people I can connect with. It's not whether they're going to do this. Food shouldn't even be mentioned. It's not about the food. And it really has to be stressed. It's not about the food. It's about you making money. It's about you building your business. It's about you making those connections to do that. And once your brain wraps around that, it's like networking becomes exciting again. It becomes something that you want to do, and you don't walk away from an event going, ugh, you know, that wasn't that great, or I didn't meet anybody, or that was really social and I didn't actually get business happening, because that leads us into networker fatigue. And once you're into networker fatigue, you don't even want to go out anymore. You don't want to meet people, you've had it, you say it's a waste of time, this group didn't work. The reality is you're going in for all the wrong reasons. You've got to go in to build your business. And once you do that, it gets exciting again.
Well, Ronnie Hannesen, thank you so much for being here today and
you.
sharing some of your wisdom and about your organization. Now, I know you have an event coming up.
We have an exciting event coming up, which is our conference. It's September 20th.
Okay.
It's in Markham. We're on Alden Road, which is just above Steeles, where the 404 comes off onto Woodbine. So we're right central because we're getting people from all over coming. We have fantastic showcase businesses. We have speakers, but the main reason we want you to come out, and we want this to be our movement, and we're really excited about it, is to come out and build your business. Get your connections, get your sales purchase alliance going, and know that we're behind you with that thought process. So we want you to come out, meet people, connect with people, and tell everybody that that's what we want. We want you to build your business and get to that event.
And of course, I'm going to be there, so
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to it. And for more information about the event and about...
They can go on tcnw.ca. Tickets are free
Okay.
for guests to come out. We're giving out 2,000 complimentary tickets directly into people's hands, and then they can call in. They can email Ronnie at tcnw.ca and get tickets sent to them. And please pass them to everybody. We want to have an excellent show so that you can end your last quarter on a high note and you can start rocking to 2012.
Well, thanks again.
Thank you.
All the best. Well, I'm looking forward to going out to the event September 20th. More information at tcnw.com. Come on out. Sorry?
.ca.
.ca. I got that wrong. .ca. tcn.ca. I'll be there. Come on out. Would love to meet you. It's going to be a great event. So we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, you're going to meet Allison Harvey, who's the founder of 10,000 Toys for Haiti. She's here to talk about the importance of, she's not raising money, she's raising toys for orphans in Haiti. So stay right there.